Chapter 29, Braking Fundamentals, Video 4, Cam and Disc Brakes. So the cam brakes or the disc brakes are what we call the foundation brakes. So foundation brakes are the or wheel end brakes. Those are the actual mounts and the shoes and the drums and all that creates that friction, creates that braking force, and those are out, right there at the drive wheels or the steering wheel or the steering tires, where all of those are located at. So we call those the foundation brakes, where all the braking action happens as opposed to the control circuits. Dual braking circuits, two separate brakes control circuits. So we control the front brakes separately from the rear brakes. This is also true on hydraulic brake systems. So that if we have a single failure in one of the components, we don't lose all of the brakes. So we've got the front steer axle brakes are controlled separately from the rear axle, so that if we hit that pallet on the road and it comes up and breaks a fitting off of the air system there from our front brake system, I would lose the ability to use the front brakes, but that would not affect the rear drive axles braking systems. So that's just a federally mandated requirement that those are separate, so that one failure won't eliminate all the brakes. And it's very common to use the parking brakes or the park or emergency brakes, use the foundation brake system for that function also. We could have a driveline brake, which would act as a park or emergency brake, but by far the most majority of the trucks out there use the foundation brakes both for service braking and for park brake functions. A couple of the different types of the brakes systems that we'll have: cam brakes or S-cam brakes. Those are still, well, even those are considered drum brakes. By far the most common that we're finding on trucks today. As we progress with the stopping distances, improving on those, we start moving into the air disc brake systems. So again, the cam brakes are going to use a S-cam to force the shoes into the drums. A disc brake system, it uses a caliper and brake pads that clamp around or squeeze the rotor to create the friction and create the heat to slow the truck down. Wedge brakes, it's going to use a tapered wedge to force the shoes apart and force the shoes into the drums. So a variation of a drum brake system. One of the things to note is the air that we send out into the system it's proportional. The amount of flow and the amount of pressure that we put into the brake system is proportional to the amount of how far we push down on the pedal, the brake pedal of the treadle valve. We're not creating the pressure like we do on a hydraulic brake system. By pushing your foot down, you're creating the brake pressure. On an air brake system, you're merely opening a valve a certain amount and allowing a certain amount of airflow to flow through and a certain amount of pressure to flow through that is proportional to how far you've pushed down on that brake pedal. Looking at the foundation brakes here, so the one on the left is a drum brake system, and this is the S-cam or cam brakes here. So the more that this S-cam rotates, in this case it would rotate clockwise, it would push these followers out further and further out. The more that S-cam turns, forcing the shoes into the rotating drum on the outside, creating the friction. On the right is the disc brake, so we've got the disc turning through the middle of our caliper here, and then the brake pads are forced into the rotor, creating the friction and then slowing the truck down.